Okay, that was a lot, but we are ready to go ahead and get started. So what is mock trial at UC Davis? We are a collegiate mock trial program. We have about 30 members each year, and we also have 3 teams. We are a student-run program. We're really, really proud of that. We are student-led with the support of attorney coaches as well as law student coaches as well. And you'll have a chance to actually meet those coaches towards the end of our meeting. They're super awesome, and we're really lucky to have them. We are so grateful that we have the opportunity to compete and travel all around the country when there's not a national pandemic, of course. We go to places like LA, Berkeley, Philadelphia, Chicago. So we have great opportunities to see new places and meet a lot of amazing people. And then a little flex, we are in the top 50 teams in the whole entire nation. We've made it to nationals consecutively in the last 2 years and several times before that. And we are also one of the best in the West. We are in the top 5 teams in the West Coast. So we're really proud of our program for sure.
Okay, so I assume that a lot of you in this meeting are coming from high school mock trial. All 5 of us are high school mockers, so we have a lot of love for it, but there are a lot of differences between high school and college mock trial, which honestly make college mock trial much more fun. So in high school, you have one team typically. That was how my high school was, at least. As Ashley mentioned, we have 3 teams. And after the fall season, they are stacked competitively. So our A team is our best competitors, our B team is our next best, etc. In high school, you also have 3 trial attorneys and 1 pre-trial attorney. In college mock trial, there is no pre-trial, at least not in the sense that it is pre-trial. Our arguments drawn from case law and from constitutional law happen during the trial, during objection battles, which is much more fun and means that everybody essentially gets to participate in the really excellent parts of pretrial. So in high school, you have 4 witnesses and they're called in every trial. This is one of the biggest differences with college mock. There are 10 witnesses in our case packet, and you can choose which ones you want to call. Some are side constrained, some can be called by either side. So it means that there's a huge variability of cases that you're going to come up against and huge variability of cases that you can come up with. People in college mock trial come up with really, really sort of off the wall creative theories that will always surprise you, and no trial will ever be the same for sure. In high school, you use the mock trial rules of evidence, which are sort of an abbreviated, simplistic form of real rules of evidence. In college, we use the Midlands Rules of Evidence, which is just a retitling of the federal rules of evidence. So if you're kind of a law nerd, or if you plan to go to law school, which a lot of us end up doing, it's actually really useful and interesting experience. So also in high school, there's only criminal cases. I think it switches off murder every other year. In college, we alternate between civil and criminal cases. And so there's much more variability, and obviously we all love a good murder case, but there's really interesting cases that we've come up against. Things like we had like a libel case essentially, and like negligence case. Last year was our criminal year, so this year is civil. Last year was a kidnapping murder situation, kind of. And kind of one more offshoot of that is that AMTA has been getting pretty creative in terms of letting the prosecution or the plaintiff in this case choose the charge that they bring. So that was the case last year, and it's also the case this year, that you walking into trial as the defense team, you're actually not sure what charge the prosecution is even going to be bringing against you. So that's another thing that makes it really fun and really variable.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to talk about some differences between this upcoming year being online and how normally a normal college season will go. So normal unstacked season is typically from October to November. At the end of November, beginning of December, when we have finals week and we start winter break, is when that's when the unstacked season ends. And basically unstacked and stacked, the difference between that, I'll talk a little bit more about later, but it basically means everybody is aligned for like best competitors on A, B, and C, where before it's just kind of mixed around. So usually when we start, we stack teams, we put teams into 3 teams of 10 individuals, 10 to 12, and each team has 2 captains. So we try to mix together experienced members with new members so that everyone can sort of kind of get how mock trial goes in college. This is also an opportunity for the coaches to see everyone, see members who may have improved from the previous year, and see how the new members are so that we can more accurately stack for the stacked season. So yeah, we typically stack in November, and we usually stack around the time of Thanksgiving. So virtual unstacked season. So we're new at this. This is our first year being online completely. So our coach, Rick, our head coach, you guys will meet him a little bit later, came up with this wonderful idea. I'll try to summarize it for you guys. So basically, we're doing an entire intra-team unstacked season. So that means we won't be going to any invitationals at other schools. All the invitationals this year are going to be online. So we want to give other schools some time to sort of develop their online platforms and make the tournaments good, because we don't want to spend a bunch of money to go to invitationals and then there's all type of technical difficulties and it's kind of like a bad trial experience. So we're going to be doing all of our scrimmaging in-house for the unstacked season. So we have 2 rounds, the prelims and the playoffs. Essentially the prelims, you're sort of testing out your material. You're competing against, they're pre-made. And then however your team does in that situation will determine the seeding for the playoffs. And then there's 3 rounds again, and the winner is determined by most wins. This isn't too important now, but just know it's you're only going to be competing against people from UC Davis mock trial in the fall. So some of the advantages of this are that we're going to have shorter trials because we're going to have less members per team, about 5 members per team with 6 teams. So there are more teams. Larger opportunity to be seen by coaches. One thing that was kind of difficult before was we only went to a couple invitationals in the fall. So sometimes it'd be difficult for the coaches to see everyone. But now that we have more trials, there are more opportunities for everyone to be seen by the coaches so that we can better accurately put people on teams for the stacked season. And then finally, everyone will get to try, basically everyone will be in every role. So everyone on the team in the fall will be an attorney and a witness, aside from maybe 1 member per team. This means we'll get to see a lot of people who maybe traditionally were attorneys as witnesses and people who were traditionally as witnesses as attorneys, because there might be members who have more talents than they know, or maybe they haven't discovered their ability to be in a different role. Well, everyone's going to be able to see themselves in a new role. So then regular stack season. So normally once we get back from winter break, we're going to more competitive invitationals because the teams are stacked and everyone's looking to refine their material for the competitive season. So we usually go to a couple invitationals before we go to our regionals, orcs, and hopefully Nats, but you guys will hear more about that a little bit later. So essentially, once we stack, the stacking process goes that the head coach, Rick, will pick the 18 captains, and then the 18 captains and Rick will stack our entire team. Then after that, we compete, and then we prepare for regionals. So the main difference between that and this year virtually, it's just that everything's going to be online. So we're going to be stacking a similar time. The stacking process will be about the same, and we'll be switching from the 6-team format to a 3-team format with 10 members per team, 2 captains per team. And then we'll be going to a similar number of invitationals. They'll just be online. Here at the bottom, we plan on attending UCSB, UCLA, and UC Berkeley. All very good tournaments.
Okay, so as Jafar was kind of alluding to earlier, there are 3, once we pass the unstacked season and the invitational season, invitationals feel like real competitions, but they're essentially just practice. We move into our actual competitive season, which consists of these sort of 3 tiers of rounds. So the first tier is regionals. Any college mock trial team is guaranteed to a spot at regionals, and some teams have like 5 teams and send them all to regionals. So regionals is the least competitive round, and it happens in mid-February. All 3 of our teams compete, and we always feel confident that our A and B team will make it out, although we have certainly had some very competitive C teams in the past that did or could have made it out of regionals. I can't recall. So after we get out of regionals, we go to ORCS, which stands for opening round something or other. Anyway, it's the next round that you move on to. You can only send 2 teams to ORCS, and we usually hit that bar of having 2 teams that made it out and that go to that. In a normal season, we would go to ORCS in LA, but this season, obviously, it will be different. Usually just to go back for a moment, out of each regionals, there's 5 or 6 teams that make it out of each one. So you'll see a large kind of variety of competitiveness in terms of the teams. Some teams are really not going to have it together, and some are going to be very good. Once you get to ORCS, it's much more competitive. We are in the difficult and really wonderful in some ways position of being at the West Coast ORCS, which is the hardest ORCS in the country. There are much more ORCS on the East Coast and in the Midwest and the South, and the level of competition is just a lot lower. We have a lot of really amazing teams on this coast, and it is brutally competitive to get out of ORCS. LA usually gets 2 teams out. Stanford will get a team out, and we, luckily enough, have been getting teams out the past couple of years. So if you get out of ORCS, which is, again, I think 5 spots or 6 spots, you make it to nationals, which is a really fun opportunity to go to. Unfortunately, nationals was canceled last year. We did get a bid, but we didn't end up getting to go. But the year before that, we went to Philadelphia. And it's a really wonderful experience. It's one of those things where everybody has fought this sort of bitter battle to get to nationals, but once you're there, unless you're one of a very small kind of elite of teams, like Yale is sort of the dominant player right now, most teams know that they don't have a shot at winning nationals. So it's kind of just like a party. Like you already made it and you're there, and it's really fun, and the rounds are really interesting, and it's fun to see teams from all over the country. Those of you who make it onto the team this year and get to experience the online format are kind of getting a taste of that anyway, because you will compete against teams from all over the country, which is actually really special and doesn't usually happen when we have in-person tournaments. You don't get to see national teams until you make it all the way to nationals. So yeah, there's 48 teams at nationals, top 48 in the country. It's very competitive, and our A team is, as you would expect, the one that typically makes it out of ORCS and goes to nationals, but you do sometimes have upsets at other schools where their B team gets a bid to nationals and their A team doesn't. We have seen that happen with teams that we know. So we do reserve the right to restack if we get a bid to nationals, but typically it stays more or less the same in terms of the people who got the bid, essentially. But I don't know if this will be covered later, but the stacking is very fluid throughout the year. People get moved up, people get moved down. So it keeps you on your toes, but it also means that if you're really working your butt off, you have an opportunity to move up. And even my first year when I was a freshman on the team, I was not on the A team during the competitive season, and my performance was good enough that they restacked and put me on the nationals team, even though I hadn't been on the team that got a bid. So it's really fun for those of you who, show a lot of improvement. You can end up at nationals even if you didn't necessarily sort of get yourself there on your team. Sorry, that's me too. Okay, so we practice Monday through Thursday, 8 to 10 typically. That may be different this year depending on your captain, because we have so many teams, as was covered earlier. They might have variable schedules, but it is a large time commitment and it's a lot of work. Like, we're not going to BS you about that. It is intense. We liken it to the workload of a 4 to 5 unit course. So it's a lot, but it's the kind of work that you want to be doing. So it feels worth it. This year, because of the virtual format, the time commitment has gone down a little bit. You don't have to worry about flying or driving places for competitions, so that's kind of nice. But on tournament weekends, which during the competitive season, when we're going to invitationals and real competitions, you can expect to be devoting your weekend to mock trial every 3 weeks or so. Outside of practice and competition, we do a lot of work. We write all our own material. Like we said before, we're a student-run team. We do all our own work. We don't have coaches that are calling the shots or writing material for us. So it is a lot of work. It is collaborative, but it's the kind of work that's really fun. So in a normal year, because we do so much traveling, because we stay in hotels, our dues are high. It's a big number. It's typically $325. Because there is no travel this year, that figure will be significantly less. I can't let you know right now what it is exactly, but it's important for everyone to know that the cost of dues are not going to be prohibitive for anyone this year, and that it definitely shouldn't be something that you should factor in if you're like deciding whether to audition and feel that it will be too expensive. I can promise you that it will not be too expensive for anybody this year.
Okay, so mock trial, we didn't really go over necessarily the basics of it. So for those of you that don't know, in mock trial, especially in college mock trial, we get a case packet every year. This has things like case law that we'll be referring to, the charges that we're going to choose from for the year, and different affidavits or witness statements, depositions, reports of all of the witnesses in the case. From there, the teams kind of get together, you come up with a case theory, hopefully a theme that you like to slip into all of your like openings and closings. And then there are 2 different types of roles that you can have. You can either be an attorney or a witness. Some people are lucky enough to double and become both. But with that, you work with your pair. So in a case, typically the attorneys each will have a witness that they are directing. Those attorneys will also have witnesses that they will be crossing that are on the other side. But with the witnesses they direct, you kind of work as a pair and as a team to come up with almost a story that you're telling together. And you're telling it through an ask and answer format. So with that, and with the ability to write opening statements and closing arguments for some attorneys, you can really develop a lot of educational, practical, tangible skills that you can use in a workplace. So some examples of that are like public speaking, writing, argumentation. You get really good at being able to take in a lot of information and kind of funnel that down to make it very approachable and very easy to follow to anybody, because that's kind of our job when we're being scored by a bunch of people that we've never met before. You can also gain a lot of skills in more of an acting realm. So whether or not you're an attorney or a witness, you are playing a part. And through this, you develop a lot of skills with improvisation, with thinking on your feet, with really being able to adapt to any situation. So I know Sorsha and Ashley mentioned before that a lot of the time we'll get a case that we haven't necessarily thought of before, or something that kind of like takes us by surprise. So it's fun being able to kind of master yourself and work with your team to be able to bounce back from anything, because that makes you look a lot more polished in a courtroom as well. And then lastly, I think this is the most important, as opposed to some other clubs. I'm not saying that these clubs are not great, but in my experience, clubs like Model UN or in debate, it's not really communicative. You're not really working as a team. It's more of an individual activity. But in mock trial, you really get a sense of community. You are working with a team. You are working with your pair that you're paired up in. We also prioritize a lot of team bonding. And that just naturally happens when we have a lot of travel together, typically. And then we also, with that, collaborate with any type of personality, both with our own team and the teams that we go up against and the people that we meet. So when we travel to places like Fresno or Berkeley or even Philadelphia, we're meeting a lot of people and working with a lot of people, both our peers and those much older than us, to kind of get the most desired, most smooth outcome for everybody. And along with that, you make a lot of amazing friends, as I can personally attest to as well. Okay, so I touched on this a little bit before. So what makes us different from other clubs? If you are considering joining another club, this club is not prohibitive. You can join many others. I know lots of us have other commitments, but I personally think that Davis Mock Trial is the most special club that I'm a part of. Here we get access to both attorney and law student coaches. So the benefit with that is that with attorney coaches, we're able to get really a real world perspective and know how our directs are looking, how our crosses are doing, what objections we need to make, what would actually happen in a real courtroom. And then our law student coaches, in our experience, have been former competitors. And that is really amazing because we get more of an inside perspective. Like, what is this specific team going to do that maybe we won't think of? So we really cover all of our bases and develop friendships and partnerships with these amazing, intelligent, very, very capable, fantastic coaches that I can't say enough good things about. We really, really emphasize community and teamwork. So no matter what team you're on, I know we mentioned that we have A, B, and C. And after our fall quarter, those are organized by talent or by your ability to perform. But no matter what team you're on throughout the entire season, you're first and foremost part of Mock Trial at UC Davis. We're all one program and we try our hardest, and I think we succeed in acting like it a lot of the time. So with that also, we have a mentor-mentee program that actually Brandon, our secretary, is setting up and working very hard on this year. So with that, some of our older members, our more experienced members, will take a newbie under their wing and have them as a mentee for the whole year, take them out to coffee, which we can't really do this year, but have lots of fun little Zoom activities together, and introduce our newbie to the rest of the team, make sure that they're comfortable. If they have any questions or ever need anything, we try to be a point of contact for them and make everybody on the team feel as comfortable as possible. And we also have team bonding days. So more specifically, in the beginning of the year, after stacking, after drafting, when you get your first unstacked teams, we have a lovely little team bonding day where the entire team gets together. This year it will be virtual. And you kind of get to know people that you may not have known before that aren't necessarily in your specific team, in your specific group of people, so that we can really branch out and get to know everybody on the team as a person. Because truly, we've found that if you are able to work together as a team and to have that good team cohesion and communication, then not only does constructive criticism come easier, but the ability to get better, to improvise, to attain all those skills that I talked about before really just comes quickly with that. So now I'm going to hand it off to Brandon to talk about auditions, which is why a lot of you are probably here.
Okay, the moment you have all been waiting for, I assume, I hope. Hopefully we see a lot of your auditions. So to quickly preface this entire discussion about auditions, I want to say that we have made a very detailed document that goes over the audition process and formatting things. So there's this little equation on the side there. This detailed guide on format and process, plus example videos, which we will provide for you, equals a very successful audition for you. So we worked really hard on these things for you to use in your audition, so please do use them. And now we can get into it. So auditions this year, because of the virtual learning, the way things are now, they're going to be conducted by video. Specifically, we're going to have you all make a YouTube video that you submit to us. Your YouTube video is going to have to be either public or unlisted. The reason for that is because if you make a private video, you would have to share it with each of our individual emails, and there will be just too many people needing to watch these videos. So we ask that you either make it public or unlisted. And there will be more information on this, on that formatting guide thing. So don't worry too much about this right now. We're going to watch every audition video, all of your lovely auditions. And then after we do that, we're going to reach out to some of you to schedule you for an interview. Quick disclaimer though, just to like ease nerves, because I know if I submitted an audition video and I didn't get called for an interview, I'd be freaking out. But like it says right there, if we don't interview you, that doesn't mean you won't be accepted into the program. There will be some cases, maybe, possibly, where we accept you without an interview. Okay. So you are going to be submitting an audition video for either the role of an attorney or a witness. Just to briefly go over what these people would do in a college mock trial round. The attorney is going to give an opening statement. They're going to conduct direct examinations and cross-examinations, and then they're going to give us a closing argument at the very end of the trial, where we try to persuade the jury to vote in our favor. As the witness, you're really the star of the show. I mean, there would be no trial if there were no witnesses. So you're going to get up there and you're going to tell us what happened, how it happened, and from that, the jury and the attorneys are going to be trying to develop a theory that we can use to sway the jury. So we are not going to have you do a direct or a cross for your audition. We're not going to have you do a closing argument either. You're just going to do a brief opening statement. It's going to be less than 3 minutes. The main two things that we're looking for in this opening statement audition, we want you to develop a theory around the case. And then somebody mentioned it earlier about a theme that will be covered in the audition rules and guidebook. There's another reminder there to read over that because it's very important. We're going to talk about all these tips and tricks that you can do for creating your opening statement, but we want you to create a theory and then tell us what your theory is using all the facts and witness statements that you have available to you. As the witness, you would usually be asked questions. Give me 1 second here. You would usually be asked questions, right? But since we can't really bring you in to do that, we're going to have you do a sort of like a monologue in the perspective of your witness. So what we're looking for in these is for you to develop a character from the witness, from all the materials that you've read of this witness, and deliver the facts of what they saw happened, and however that is relevant to the trial. It's going to be brief as well, less than 3 minutes. So the main thing, though, is to develop that character, because that's really what we're looking for when we try to bring on new witnesses. Important dates here. I would probably write these down. The video is being recorded, so you don't have to, but just so you know, your audition videos have to be posted to YouTube and submitted to us by 11:59 p.m. on October 2nd, 2020. So clearly that means you're going to be getting the materials to do your audition before this date. That's going to be on September 20th. Jafar asked, can you audition as both? Yes, I forgot to mention. You can either audition as just an attorney, just a witness, or you can go ahead and do both. If you do both, your video is going to probably more be like 5.5 minutes, but still less than 6 minutes, ideally. So yes, audition videos are going to be due to us on October 2nd. We're going to watch through all of them, and then we'll send out emails Then we will bring some of you in for interviews to get to know you better on October 6th and 7th. And you will know whether or not you are in the program no later than October 8th, because our first meeting, I believe, is October 8th. If it's not October 8th, then it's October 9th. So it's pretty, we're getting started pretty fast here. Resources. Again, I'm going to talk about the audition rules and guidebook because it's super helpful, but on top of it being helpful, you kind of have to read it because you won't know like what's going on in terms of formatting the video or anything like that. So go through that. That will be made available when we bring out or when we send out the audition materials. It's going to be an abbreviated case packet, and then this guidebook, as well as our example videos that we have made. We have made one audition or one attorney audition video and one witness audition video. Let me see here. There's a question in the chat. Can you still watch meetings if you don't make the program? 1 second here. Okay, so our meetings are exclusive to members in the program. However, after the fall and winter season, we do open the program back up for a spring season. And that spring season is generally open to everybody. We haven't made out a full plan for the spring season yet, given the virtual nature of this school year, but we will be doing that. And when we do, you will be sure to hear about it through our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, all of that stuff. So hopefully that answers your question. Yes, okay, so the rule and guidebook and the video will be made available to you once you get your audition materials. And so now, if you are interested in auditioning, if you want to do that, we have a link here. I believe it is accessible now, but Ashley or Chloe can correct me if I'm wrong about that. We're going to put that in the Zoom chat, and I believe it'll be posted on our social medias as well. Since it's available now, you can fill it out right now or after this presentation. But if you aren't able to, if you want to sleep on it or wait a little bit, you have until September 23rd at 11:59 p.m. It's important that you do fill this out or at least send us an email, because this is how we're going to know who to send the audition materials out to. Those are going to be sent out the next day on September 24th. Okay, so now question time, because I'm sure there are maybe more questions.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I was on mute. But great. So we'll go ahead and go into the live Q&A. There was a really great question in the chat, so I'm actually going to go ahead and read it out just because more people may have this question on their minds as well, and then we'll get into those who raise their hand. The question is, and I'll have it go to Jafar, does our choice in the role we audition as matter or have an effect on whether or not we make the team?
So that is a really good question. I'm going to say no, though. We are going to accept if you have a really good audition role, as a witness, then we would value that very highly, just as equally as if you have a very good attorney audition. So the particular role that you choose does not affect, but I will say we are in need of witnesses. That doesn't mean we wouldn't take a great attorney audition. We just, the two best witnesses of our program graduated, so we are in need of witnesses. But again, it won't have any major impact. If it's a good audition, it's a good audition. I do encourage people to try to get out their comfort zone and try to audition as both. Even if one of your auditions doesn't go as well, if you do have maybe a really good witness one or a really good attorney one, that will weigh a lot toward our consideration.
Fantastic. Okay, and then I also received a really great question that I think might be really common. The question was, if someone has never done mock trial before, how hard would it be learning all the rules and processes of how things work? And I think that's one of the most frequent questions that we get every single year. And it's an amazing, amazing question. so many individuals on our team have come in with absolutely no mock trial experience whatsoever. And, I think that it can be quite intimidating as you come into info night sometimes, I know, because we kind of jump in with both feet and we start talking about a lot of technical terms and a lot of complex, things that are a little bit difficult to, wrap your mind around maybe if you haven't been in the world of mock trial yet. But I can definitely assure you that some of the, most successful people that we've had in mock trial came in with no experience. Our vice president last year, her name was Shasta Fields. She is amazing. She actually came in as a sophomore at Davis, and she had no mock trial experience. She was a witness in her first year, in her sophomore year, and then she was on our A team as a witness in that year. As a junior, she was an attorney on our A team. She gave an opening statement, and by her senior year, she was giving the closing argument on our A team. So that is a testament to what mock trial is, and there have been so many other stories just like that. And so don't think that you not having experience in mock trial precludes you in any way from not being able to be a part of this team. I think it's actually great to have people with outside perspectives come into our program as well. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed about anything, I know that there's still maybe things that are kind of fuzzy. Please feel free to DM us, to reach out, and we can send you so many different resources. We're going to be putting a link in our Instagram bio as well to a video that Shasta actually made that explains mock trial really simply and goes down to the basics. And we'll also just put in more videos of, examples of mock trial rounds too. So for anyone who, may not be familiar with it, you can always check it out. And we'll make sure to teach you well. And we always go back to the basics every single year because we know that inevitably there will be people who, aren't familiar with mock trial yet. So once again, you can totally come in with no experience. We're looking for the people who are able to perform, who are able to speak, and that's what we look for in our auditions. We don't look for someone who already has it all. So I just wanted to kind of give a heads up to everyone because I just want to really emphasize that point, and I'm so sorry because I know that people have their hands raised. Okay, next we're going to move on to Danya. Do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Hi, I had a small question about auditions and camera quality and whether we'd be judged on like terrible camera quality and terrible videography skills because and the second small question I had was when scheduling classes for say like winter or something, or generally like switching around classes for fall, would it be okay if like for like 1 hour in that 8 to 10 time slot there was a class that like was interrupting?
Those are great questions. I'm going to throw it over to Brandon for that one.
Okay. To answer the first question on the audition video, about like the quality of the video, we are not going to be discrediting you if you have a lower quality video. I know that this is a kind of a difficult audition video or audition format this year, so whatever you have will work. We do ask, however, that it has like good sound quality because that's pretty important. We want to be able to hear you, and if you can, try to be in a well-lit room. If you have a great quality video, that's awesome. But if you also have like a pretty grainy, low quality, like 360p video, that's also awesome. As long as you submit an audition, you're good. To answer the second question about maybe being late to meetings or being late to meetings, this is really going to be up to your captain's discretion, or if it falls on the night of a general meeting, you can feel free to just let a member of the executive board know, and we should be able to work something out with you, and your captain should also be able to work something out with you. But like we're not like out to get you or anything, so we will be very understanding in that regard because we're all students.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. And then next I'm going to have Sorsha. She wanted to add something else.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a few words of advice about auditions, because I would imagine you might like to know kind of what we're looking for. I remember when I was auditioning for the program, like I thought coming out of high school mock trial and coming off of like, maybe this was just my team, but I thought mock trial was like the smartest person gets up there and just like says the smartest things, like the end. And in high school mock trial, it's as much an intellectual exercise as it is a theatrical one. So I would just say, like, keep in mind for your auditions that we want it to be really dramatic and engaging. Like for a witness, we want you to really be creating a character and like bringing a lot to it, not just, you know, like the thing that you most want to avoid being is boring. And that goes for attorneys too. We want it to be dramatic. We want it to be kind of interesting and have some emotional resonance. So just make sure that you're keeping that in mind.
Awesome. Yes, that's definitely great insight for sure. The next question we have is from Sunny. You want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Yeah, hi. So you mentioned in the presentation about the time commitment of mock trial, and that some of you have other commitments. How do you juggle all those? Because as a freshman last year, I was doing a club sport, and that was like we just met 2 times per week, and that was also already super hard to fit another club in or activity.
Yeah,
So
for
I was
sure.
just wondering like what you guys do, or yeah.
That's an awesome question. I'm happy to speak to that to the best of my ability. I think that a lot of people, you know, in our program, they are able to juggle a lot of things. So no fear on that. Whether it be work or clubs or Greek life and everything, people are able to definitely, you know, balance that all. And I know that mock trial is a big commitment, but I would say that it's extremely worth it. And it's great to build a community for sure. We try to make sure that, you know, our program, for example, limits our practices to 8 to 10 p.m. Just to make sure that we're not in conflict with any labs or classes, because we do know that, of course, academics come first. So we don't want to get in the way of anyone's classes or ability to succeed academically. Furthermore, I would just kind of say that in terms of balance of everything, you know, maybe there is going to be some sacrifice here and there between, I guess, getting homework done before practice sometimes and ensuring that, you know, even if you have work and everything, I know that that can be tricky as well, but kind of scheduling things, you know, around it. But it's definitely doable. Luckily, I think that, you know, for example, most people are able to kind of set aside that time at night. And since it is a little bit later at night, yeah, definitely are able to, I guess, work around their class schedule and their homework schedule and kind of prioritize getting everything done before mock trial. But if there's any other executive board member that wants to kind of add into that, Jafar has his hand raised. Go ahead.
I wanted to add, so basically I would say, we mentioned earlier that there's a solid amount of work that you're going to be doing for mock trial outside of practice. So like you will have to prepare your examination or whatnot in preparation for practice, and then you'll be delivering it and practicing it with coaches there. So I would say like plan out, you know, your weeks or however you like to, you know, whatever units you want to do next couple of days or a week or so, or even a month, some people, because you don't want to let your mock trial work pile up. You don't want to have it be where you have a practice where you have to have 3 different things done and you have none of them done the night before. And then you also have an essay due that night. So as like syllabus week is like crucial in mock trial. And most of the captains do schedules. I'll make sure that we talk to them, and as many captains that can have schedules should, and we'll make sure that like we inform you of when we want things done as soon as possible. But basically, once you have all that in, you can schedule it all in your schedule, and that way you can kind of know, okay, I know I have an essay and my cross-examination due next week. Let me knock the essay out or the cross-examination out this week so that next week I can work on the other one. So just kind of use the information as much you have beforehand and kind of keep an eye on the things as they come up.
Can I add to that also? Sorry, I didn't have my hand up. But with mock trial too, I have found personally that a lot of the time I will see a lot of my classmates in the library, or I mean, we won't really be able to see each other in the library this year, but it's really easy to kind of study together, especially because a lot of us do have similar majors. But even if you don't, I know with Shayna, one of our captains, Tavi and I will also be living with her this year. And the three of us do like carve out time together to study a lot and really make each other better and make each other work harder. I've also found with mock trial that a lot of us are very internally motivated. So even being around other people, I know in my case, being around my fellow executive board members really motivates me to kind of get all of my work done ahead of time and to really time manage. But I think to sum up everything that like Ashley, Jafar, and I have already said, like it is time management if you are in mock trial. Because especially if we are traveling, especially if you have a role that has a larger workload, you really need to carve out time and schedule kind of every part of your day. Sorsha, did you have an add-on?
Yes, sorry, I'll make it quick. One last thing, just to give like a quick reality check. It is true that a lot of clubs also meet 8 to 10 at night, and just like to be perfectly honest, like I have given up other clubs because they met in the same slot. That being said, we have had so many members on the team that have had time conflicts with mock trial, and we work really hard to work around your guys' schedules and be flexible. Just to sort of cut straight to the point, like we expect mock trial to come first and be your first priority. Like that's sort of just the way it is. It's such an intense thing and so much work, and we love it so much that like we expect it to be your number one. But as long as we feel like you are really committed and are willing to make sacrifices, like if it really comes down to it, we can be really flexible with letting you have kind of some leeway in terms of missing practices, etc.
Fantastic. So hopefully that answered your question and was able to kind of, I guess, quell some fears as well about, the commitment of mock trial too. There was a quick question in the chat regarding years, what year you are in school and auditions. And don't worry, it doesn't affect anything at all. We take people from, all years of school. So it won't affect how we view your audition. The next question is coming from Megan. So go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi. I was wondering, since it sounds really different from high school mock trial, so the whole calling witness, you don't know what the other side, who will they call? How long did it take you guys at least to get your bearings with that? Because that sounds like a lot of pressure, because I read somewhere in the comment that some of you do cross-examinations in the hallway, and that sounds like so
we love this question. Yeah. It's really, really good. I'm going to throw it over to, let's see, I'll give it to Jafar for this one. I think he'll like it.
I actually might want to deflect this one to Sorsha. I just feel like she has more experience. I typically have crosses that are like more likely to occur than not. There are like some witnesses that kind of pretty much are going to happen, and there's some swing witnesses. Actually, yeah, we might want to move this one over. Actually, okay, Sorsha, go ahead. You could take this one.
Okay, I'll be quick, and maybe Tavi can weigh in. I think just like generally in terms of mock trial, like you said, it's kind of like we don't want to scare you with that with the writing process in the hallway, but like it can be a little crazy like that. And just to be perfectly honest, like all of us here have like really bombed before, especially when we were first starting out. Like there's an adjustment period and we didn't like pick it up right away. But that's like necessary and it's fine. We have so many kind of like invitationals and practice competitions before we get to the point where we're really competing that you get there. And it like in terms of exactly how long it takes, I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. Your brain just like sort of becomes more elastic and it gets easier eventually.
Yes, Sorsha speaks the truth. We have all bombed, and it happens a lot, especially as you're first starting out. So we don't judge anyone. It's totally understandable. It's the learning curve. And I'm going to throw it over to my favorite person, Tavi, to elaborate for a few more seconds about that as well, because he knows the struggle.
If we're talking about getting ready for cross examination, last year, by the end of the season, I had 9 crosses that I needed to worry about because I double attorneyed, and my wonderful co-captain Ashley gave me all the character witnesses on defense, so I had to prepare every single cross possible. And I think what makes it easy is if you really just read the case and like understand what your case theory is about, it shouldn't be too difficult to like you shouldn't be worried about specifics all the time because usually your case theory has like some general themes that you're getting out and you can carry that throughout each witness you're crossing. So even though I had like 8 crosses, there was one like portion of my cross that was the same across every witness because it pertained to our case theory. So I wouldn't worry too much about having too many crosses, especially coming for someone who had way too many last season.
Yes, thank you so much, Tavi. And just to note, this is also where those kind of tangible skills come in, right? Of being able to speak on the fly, being able to speak extemporaneously. We're less rigid than high school because they expect, more, I guess, advanced training now. And so that's where it comes in. That's where the challenge and the fun of mock trial comes in, the ability to think on your feet and be able to throw something together and still, do your best at it as well. So I'll make that note. It can be extremely fun, but also scary when you first start out, but we'll teach you and we will get everyone there. Okay, next question is coming from Juan. And so go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, everybody. I was wondering how many spots are open, for mock trial?
Okay, for this one, I'm going to throw it over to Brandon.
Okay, real quickly before I go into this, I think that the number of returning members, as of right now, somebody correct me immediately if I'm wrong, is either 25 or 26.
23.
23. Okay. So during the competitive season, we have 3 teams. And each of the 3 teams in the competitive season can only have 10 members. So that means by the time of competitive season, if we are not already at 30, then we have to be at 30. But this year, we plan on only admitting enough to get us to 30. So given the fact that we have 23 returning members, we will have 7 open positions. That's a little bit scary, but I believe in all of you and you can do it.
Shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot. Please, 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 please shoot your shot.
Yes, great words of wisdom. And then our next question is from Ferris. So go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you, Ashley. So this is going back to auditions. You said that the 3 processes, like the opening and the closing and the creating the theory, you said that that was no more than around 3 minutes. So is that 9 minutes in total for the whole audition?
Brandon is our audition guy, so take it away, Brandon.
Okay, so when I started explaining that, what I was doing was talking more generally about college mock trial. I was saying that in the format of a college mock trial, the flow of the trial will go opening statement, directs and crosses, and then closing argument. For the audition, if you're auditioning as an attorney, you are only going to be doing an opening statement. You don't have to do any directs. You don't have to do any crosses. We don't need you to get up there and give us a 9-minute closing argument. We just need a brief opening statement, which is going to be less than 3 minutes.
Okay.
Let me know if you have like a follow-up question to that.
And I'm also actually curious on how stance and movement will be judged for this year virtually.
Right. So good question. We know that people are working with limited spaces and maybe limited technology. So it's kind of hard to find somewhere where you can set up a camera and then move around a lot. If you can do that, that's great, and we'll enjoy watching it. If you cannot do that, don't worry about that. This is another thing that we go over in the audition rules and guidebook. I keep talking about it. Probably should have just made it available tonight, but it'll be out on September 24th when you get the rest of the audition materials. It'll talk about things that are necessary and things that are helpful, but we aren't really going to be like putting any weight on it when we view your audition. So if you're able to move around, we'll enjoy watching that. If you aren't able to, that's completely fine. Don't worry about it at all.
Fantastic. So our next person actually is going to be Rick. So Rick, feel free to unmute yourself.
I just wanted to mention that the number 23, as I understand it, we had 6 seniors graduate. So that says something about the program. Almost everybody that could come back is coming back. So despite all the work, there is something that is really special about what the program has been doing. And I just wanted to emphasize that. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rick. Our next question is coming from Zachary. So go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. I just had a question. I was in high school mock trial, and someone said earlier that college mock trial was a lot more focused on the dramatic aspect. And I was just kind of wondering to what extent, is this kind of some really extreme, Law and Order kind of stuff, or is this more you're trying to be an actor? I'm just not sure exactly what level you're asking for, or what the standard is.
That's a fantastic question. We're going to have Chloe take this one.
Awesome. Okay, witnessing is one of my favorite things. I love it so much. We are not asking you to be an Oscar-nominated actor or actress. We do, however, want things to be very personable and very approachable. At the end of the day, the person getting on stand, the witness, is really there to just kind of tell their story. So if you have a wacky character, you can kind of bring that in some way. If you have an accent, I know Brandon does an Australian accent very well. We have a few other accents on this team. Just things that kind of set you apart, but still make you feel like a natural human being. There are also types of witnesses too. So depending on the type of witness, it kind of depends how you act that and how you play that. So I know a lot of the times I like playing emotional witnesses, where you get up there on stand and cry about your husband being mauled to death by a chimpanzee. And you, even though that is kind of a ridiculous scenario that doesn't happen too often at all, you do kind of have to be more serious and more somber with that. Whereas a witness that is a French chef can be a little bit more wacky and just kind of give their account of the story. So we're really just looking for authentic people, and however you want to play that, whatever little unique eccentricities you want to bring into that, we are more than happy to have it.
And then what about for attorneys specifically?
Yeah, for sure. For attorneys, something that kind of sets you apart from a witness is that you have a style instead of a character. So as an attorney, you are still kind of playing a part, but that part will be more professional. It will be often more reserved than a witness. And with that, again, we are not asking for super over the top. We're just asking for people. So as long as you're approachable, as long as you kind of play it so that we know that you are being a kind, fair person in court, while also knowing all of your information and being able to stand up for your own side, is super awesome. So along with that, you kind of do need to know all of your information, especially as an attorney, and find just little things that set you apart. In our program, we tend to focus on being very, very kind to the other side, because that makes you look more like an authentic attorney who doesn't necessarily have what we like to call a dog in the fight.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, our next question is from Sunny. So go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. So I have two questions. One's more general. So the first question is about auditions for the witness. Do we just choose from the packet, choose a witness to impersonate, or are you going to like give us a character to be? Does that work?
Yeah, Brandon, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, good question, Sunny. So once you receive the case packet, it'll be a short version, so you will only be able to view a handful of witnesses. And from that handful of witnesses, you will go ahead and select whichever one that you would like to select, and then develop basically, we want you to become that witness, pretty much, and that's up to you. Also, I would like to add, since Chloe shared my little Australian accent, it's used in the example witness video that I made, but admittedly, it's a little rusty since we've been out of practice for a little. So I'm embarrassed to say it is rusty. So please don't laugh at me, or laugh at me. You can do that. That's great. But yes, and when it comes to accents or anything charactery, that's another thing we aren't going to be giving more weight to the substance of the audition. It's just a thing that if you do it, it's great.
Okay, that was a really great live Q&A. And if you have any further questions, we are always available. I think Chloe has a response time for DMs of about 30 seconds. So please feel free to message her. She will get back to you before you even hit send. We can also email us as well. Our email is on the Instagram bio. So just some next steps, and this will also be posted on our social media just in case you want to go and check it out. You can go ahead and follow us on our platforms to stay updated. We also have our website right on there as well. Go ahead and visit that, see what we're all about, check out our cute pictures. You're going to want to fill out that Google form. It's tinyurl.com/auditioninterest. And if one of our exec board members could actually type that into the chat, that would be fantastic. That's going to be the email list. It'll put you on that list. And on September 24th, you're going to get that exciting packet of audition materials and Brandon's lovely video, and you'll get to see or hear the infamous Australian accent. It's actually fantastic. You can also go to our link tree, which is on our Instagram bio for easy access to all of these links. Finally, review audition materials, prepare your audition, and last but not least, audition and send it in by October 2nd. So this is going to be posted onto our Instagram bio and our website. This whole entire meeting will be on there by tomorrow latest. So feel free if you want to just watch it again. If you'd like to hear all about us, once again, feel free to check it out. And we're going to be posting once again this whole entire slide basically on our social media. So you're going to be able to have all of these resources and not forget to audition. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure to see all of you. We hope that you'll audition and join our program. If you have any more questions, once again, don't hesitate to reach out. We're super friendly, I promise, and Chloe will definitely respond. So yeah, have a great rest of your night, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Have a good one. Bye.